How I Quit Being a Werewolf. Dear Scary Stories NYC, I am a former werewolf, or possibly a recovering one. I haven't had a relapse so far, and I am hoping that the situation is entirely in my past. I'm going to tell you how I got to this point, but my solution probably wouldn't work for everybody. For that reason, I'm also going to include some of my recent research at the end, where I've been looking into other alleged cures for the condition. I think there's a whole list of reasons people end up becoming werewolves, and so each cure is going to have to be a completely personal and unique kind of a journey. I'm going to jump right in and tell you my story, and hopefully it'll all make sense to you as I move through it. I grew up the only child of a business owner and a housewife. I've got no complaints about my upbringing. In fact, I miss my parents terribly. They were taken from this world in a traffic accident, and I inherited enough money that I could afford to buy things that numbed my shock and pain and loss. Before that money came through, my girlfriend also passed, and she was a victim of terrible violence. I'm not even going to begin to describe that. Now, I wasn't braced for any of this, and I made a lot of bad choices as a result. I felt like going to sleep for 10 or 20 years and waking up in a better time. I really wanted to check out of this world because it hurt me too much. So I fell in with these other losers. I shared my money and resources with them, and they kept me numbed up with hard drink and all sorts of other unmentionable items. These guys weren't just dealers and pimps. They were bullies and abusers and complete jerks. And for a period of time, I became head jerk. I found that pushing people around also helped numb my pain. It made me feel like I was back in charge of my life, or like I was the one who made all the decisions, and not the random hands of this fate character who had killed the 3 people who mattered most to me, all in under a month. I'm not asking you to feel sorry for me, and I'm not asking you to forgive me my choices. But I do hope you can see how I got broken, and how I became bad. Now this pack of guys and I, we were werewolves. I don't have a story for you about a dramatic incident in which I got bitten by a wolf, and then I found myself transforming under the light of the next full moon. I'm telling you that I was so numbed up that I have no memories of how it all started. I just remember that after I started hanging with those guys, we would wake up naked in weird places. We initially blamed it on blackouts from too much drinking. Well, actually, that probably was actually part of the cause. I remember that after a while we all accepted that this kept happening because we were werewolves. Or at least we became them at night, after we got drunk enough. Like, I've read other kinds of werewolves say that they don't remember very well what happened when they were in werewolf form. So it could be that causing the blackouts. Or in our case, it could have been the cases of beer and bourbon we'd fly through each night in those old days. As we became bigger and bigger a-holes, we started bossing bartenders around and taking establishments over so that we could more easily bully and abuse whoever was unlucky enough to be in our vicinity that night. We started acting like werewolves even when we were in human form, if you know what I mean. We would go to places where the owners or staff had known my parents, and we would take advantage of that connection to get dinners I'd put on the tab, and we'd cause some kind of disturbance or another by acting like big shots. We all started to remember and be more aware of running as wolves in the night, and each of us started to get more and more into their monstrous side. I'm not sure how else to explain it. Maybe I should say that we had never really been nice like Dr. Jekyll, but we found ourselves going deeper and deeper into our Mr. Hyde versions anyway. We started to attract a small following of individuals, mostly girls, who must have been very masochistic to want to be anywhere near any of us. It's funny to me in a way that I now think back on the early days of running with the Wolfpack as being sort of an innocent time. We became animals at night. We behaved like wolves. Now that's not all bad. It's natural in many ways and not evil. Yes, we did hunt and kill, But we ate what we took down, and we had amazing adventures together in the woods. But it led to stuff that eventually forced me to get out of the lifestyle entirely. See, in the early days when we were men, we were not nice. But when we were wolves, we roamed free and felt fully alive. Then somehow, and for some reason that I can't dredge out of my memory, we started becoming, well, werewolves. I know, we already were werewolves, but I mean, we started to become the other kind. The kind that are like people. The ones that stand up on their hind legs. Not the more natural ones that run around on all fours and behave like canines. No, I mean we started to become the upright dogman kind of werewolves. Like I said, I'm blurry about how things happened first. But my gut tells me that we must have been starting to turn into wolves, then got distracted one time. Maybe that's how it started. We would begin to become the wolf, but we would never get to that part about dropping down to all fours and barking. We would be starting to grow claws out of our hands, but the hands would still be useful. Our minds would not be wolfen yet. We had more conscious control when we were bipedal, and we were far more sadistic than our wolf selves would ever have wanted to be. Now, instead of being free of our anger and spite and bitter hatred of the world when we roamed at night, we were seeped in that same bitterness and violence. We just got worse and worse. We became organized criminals, really. We would shake people or store owners down for money, sometimes even when I had enough money already on me. We started to do things just because we figured we could get away with it. And then one of the sheriff's deputies became one of us werewolves. After that, it seemed like we were practically the law ourselves. We turned that community into the Wild West, and the situation persisted for years. I mean, like 4 or 5 years of people just taking whatever we dished out. I'm not sure I even understood anymore that what I was doing was wrong. When people smile and give you money, when they say thank you just because you didn't beat them up, you start to think that you're really a good guy after all. I mean, everyone always told me how great I was. The police let me get away with anything I wanted. So I must have been an awesome guy to know, right? Everybody was saying so. But then one year we invaded a church on Halloween or the night before. We were planning to extort money out of the priest in there or the pastor or whatever it was. I don't remember what denomination of church we burst into. Our original plan was to threaten to wreck the place if he didn't give us money. Then after he gave us some, we were going to wreck the place anyway just for fun. I even had the idea that we should start to become the werewolves first to scare this pastor guy, then trash his place that way. That way, if he had any security cameras in the church, it would see werewolves, not our human faces. So, we'd be innocent, see? The thing is, the pastor in this church, he wasn't scared of us. He wouldn't give us any money, and he didn't scream when we became the wolfmen in front of his eyes. This guy had a sense of calmness about him, and it didn't make sense to me. I asked him how he could be so calm when we were obviously going to wreck him and his place. He asked me if his being upset or panicking would make me stop doing what I was going to do. I had to admit that no, it wouldn't. The others started to knock stuff over, but I told them to quit it. And we left to bother someone that would be easier to scare. It wasn't going to be any fun at all if this guy wasn't afraid. I started to wonder how something he called faith could be stronger than a werewolf threatening his life. It was a question that gnawed at me ever since that moment. I wanted to feel what that guy was feeling. I wanted to be able to have a few moments where I didn't feel so afraid. All of my violence, all of my bullying, it was to protect myself from losing anything or anyone else that mattered to me. It was so that I could brag that I was living life to the fullest, while being able to avoid feeling any of the things that still hurt so much to feel. I mean, it even hurt to see the sun come up in those days, and so I would usually start drinking before I got out of bed. I acted like I was a tough guy, so that people wouldn't see how small and powerless I really felt. I think my werewolf sprang out of that feeling of defenselessness against a horrible nightmare world that brutally murdered every good person in my life. The pastor had changed something inside of me. I realized I was more afraid of him than he was of me. I started to want to get out of that wolf pack, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized there would be pushback. I mean, I was financing a criminal operation, even though that had never been a conscious intention of mine heading into all this. These guys were making their living off of me, and I was adding a lot of perks on top of that. Going cold turkey for me was going to be painful for them. I started to wonder if I could get them some sort of job training or retraining or something. Give them something legal and ethical to earn a living doing. Well, when I started talking like that, the others got hostile toward me right away, and a leader emerged from among them. We called him Blocko because he was so big he could block out the sun for the rest of us. He was a great guy to have on your side, believe me. I was not looking forward to having any conflict with Blocko if he wasn't going to allow me to extricate myself from this group. I knew he was big enough to destroy me with his bare hands, or his bare claws, depending on which form he was in when he stomped my life out. Now, one of the local law enforcement professionals whose name I shan't mention had expressed to me an interest in running for a local office. I was considering financing his run for this office. Initially, I was going to do it so that we werewolves would have a politician in our back pocket if we ever needed such a thing. But after Blocko started making me feel like getting out, I cut a deal with this officer. We'd let him arrest Blocko for anything, any of the many illegal things Blocko did every single day that we all protected him from. This time, we would not protect him, and the cops could take him away. Or they could try. And if Blocko were removed from the picture, I felt like I could get jobs for the others, and then I could get back to my life. So the next time we were scheduled to pick up some protection money from this particular store, I told the cops beforehand, and they were stationed inside with hidden cameras and microphones to record the entire shakedown. This time I sent Blocko in alone to do the job, since it was an old routine by then, and the store owners always had an envelope of cash ready for us. But when Blocko went into this convenience store on that evening, though, he found the clerk far more talkative than usual. The guy kept making Blocko state specifically what he was there for. "What do you mean, what am I here for? I'm here for the money. Give me the money." And then the clerk played dumb again, asking Blocko to please explain clearly what money he was referring to and asking for. Blocko, enraged and not thinking clearly, shouted out the entire history of his coming to the store to collect protection money, and the cops recorded all of this. When they got what they needed, the men burst out of hiding, surrounding Blocko with so many men that they assumed he wouldn't be able to resist them dragging him away. They underestimated Blocko. Well, from outside we heard a crash first. Then came some people screaming. And then, to the surprise of some, came the unhappy shouting of Blocko himself. He sure didn't sound as confident as usual, and a couple of people turned to me quickly and asked if we should go in there and save him. I had to suppress a laugh. They were so loyal to him, more so than even to me, and I was the one who paid them. Well, Blocko was going up the river and out of my life, and they were going to help me make that happen. I put on my sad face and told them Blocko just got nabbed by the cops, and we'd better split out of there before we got caught too. One of the cops later told me he got a bruised rib when Blocko shoved him clean across the store into the ice cream freezer display. They told me that Blocko had picked up another cop to throw him and was holding him over his head when 3 different cops tasered him all at once. The cop he was holding got dropped, and both of them hit the floor, wriggling all over the place uncontrollably. I was surprised that it took only 3 tasers to take Blocko down. I didn't even think that would take me down when I was in werewolf form. But obviously it would have, since I was in no way as big as Blocko the Bear Man. He and I have not been in communication since that night. Poor Blocko. Me and the cops made up some story for the others about how the police were getting pressured from the feds to crack down on our gang or something. Or maybe it was pressure from the governor, I don't even really remember. The important part was that without Blocko to lead them, the others fell for it and believed us completely. They were willing and in some cases even eager to stand down and go straight. Well, not all of them went straight, but at least they left me out of their business, and that's really all I have a right to ask for. So I don't hang with werewolves anymore, and I stopped transforming. I know this won't work for all of you, but I feel like I was only doing it because that was what my friends did. I had never been without a family before. I think my subconscious took over my life for me, while I numbed my conscious mind down. I think I lived in a semi-dream state, and then I just accepted that I was a werewolf. I surrounded myself with werewolves, so I must have been a werewolf. These days I surround myself with things that tell me who I would like to become, not who I was in the past or even who I am right now. I exercise, I meditate, and I eat the carnivore diet. Hey, I gotta let the werewolf inside me have something, right? So I throw him a bone. Literally. I do think that I could backslide, and I do think that I could possibly become a werewolf again. The werewolf comes out of my dreams, out of my subconscious mind. This is why I have to lead a conscious life in order to keep him at bay. When I get angry, I sense him trying to take over. One time I lost my temper and I swear, I smelled the werewolf body odor that I haven't smelled in so long. He was ready to come back out, and he would have been quite happy to pick up where he left off. But I stopped him by calming my anger. Just like I'm gonna have to take a deep breath and stop him over and over and over again. It's gonna have to be a conscious decision each time. Now, I know that some of you out there who are suffering from this condition are not going to be able to walk away from it as easily as I did. I've been researching a bit, and here are a few of the things that I've learned recently. There's a woman named Patricia Biggs who wrote a novel called Blood Moon Rising. In the book, her female werewolf character named Mercy uses St. John's wort to help control her anger. I now have that on my shopping list and plan on getting some soon. The fictional Mercy character also uses wolfsbane as an ingredient in a potion that makes her less likely to transform when the moon is full. Now, I would not advise this, since wolfsbane is poisonous, especially for werewolves. I don't know if I was actually more likely to change under the full moon anyway. My group seemed to be anger or excitement based when we became the monsters. I have also seen a couple of people say that mistletoe helps heal werewolfism, believe it or not. But if you fail to prevent your werewolf behavior, and you would like to warn your loved ones to protect themselves from you, the internet tells me that rowan berries in your pocket will protect you from werewolves. That's R-O-W-A-N. What are rowan berries? I really don't have any idea. Also, the internet says that vervain tea will protect you from werewolves. Again, what is vervain tea? I've got zero clues for you. That's V-E-R-V-A-I-N. The thing that I'm taking away from all this, though, is that it's got to be a decision you make and stick to if you want to quit being a werewolf. If you honestly want to heal your werewolfism, then I do believe that you can find something or some way that will allow you to accomplish this. I don't think it'll be easy, so you're not likely to make the change until you get really sick of doing things the werewolf way. Maybe you won't ever be ready to make the change in this lifetime, or maybe listening to this video has made you ready to change right now. A flower can't bloom before its time, and neither can you. So whatever path you're on, Whether you're ready to give up your monster side or if you're only getting started monstering around, I wish you good luck. And I wish you a happy Halloween. Please join me in welcoming Anthony Johnson, a fan of werewolves in Wisconsin. At least I assume he's a fan of the Wisconsin Werewolf because he just joined our channel membership club here on YouTube. Now Anthony Johnson gets to see our weekly secret uncensored Dogman stories, of which I am hoping to make a new one tomorrow, Sunday, before this cold I've got makes it impossible for me to speak. There are a number of ways you can help us stay online, and there are various fun things you can get in return. Now here to explain them all is our international TV spokesmongrel, Henry Lee Dogman. Hank?
Thanks, Biggie, and thanks to all of you for watching this far. If you liked it, please click like. If you'd like to see more of our work, please subscribe. And also click that bell icon if you'd like to be notified when we put out a new episode. To become an executive producer, you can donate to us through the thanks button under each of our videos or through our paypal.me/PeterBernard209 page. To receive cool perks like secret uncensored Dogman episodes far too wild to ever run on this channel, you can become a YouTube channel member by clicking the join button or join our PayPal subscribers club at peterbernard.com. Joining either at the $3 a month level or above gets you access to our over 25 hours of secret uncensored Dogman stories available nowhere else. Do you have a scary story about Dogman or some other kind of high strangeness that happened to you? Let us know by emailing us at scarystoriesnyc@gmail.com or by leaving us a voicemail message at 804-LA-SCARY. You may need to call back on that one. It cuts off after I think 3 minutes. And if you don't want to do any of that stuff, thank you for simply watching to the end. Good night, and have a scary tomorrow.
Come back for more scary stories.